Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, I had a voice for radio. So today, we're going to be looking at Dedenne-GX. Now, this has not been officially revealed. We have no official word on Dedenne-GX. What we have is a rumour brought to us by PokerBeach.com and a ridiculously good image brought by the lovely Hitmondrew over on Twitter. And, I mean, serious, huge shout out to that guy. He gets messages from me at random times during the day being like, hey, I want to make a video about this rumoured card in like 12 hours time. Do you think you can knock up an image for me in the next 12 hours so I can use it in my video? And rather than saying, go away, Ross, stop making these last minute requests, I'm a busy guy, he goes, yeah, I'll knock something up for you. And look how amazing they work. That dude, he is on my nice list, ladies and gentlemen. He's made the nice list. So, Dedenne-GX. Now, we have these information that's rumoured when new sets are coming out. Night Unison is a set which will apparently be featuring Dedenne-GX. And before the last few sets in Japan, rumours have been coming out, and essentially they've been fed to Japanese shops to try and hype them up about the set so that they buy it. Now, this information did not come from my source this time. It was found over at PokerBeach.com. But when this information came out, I did send a cheeky message over to my source saying, hello, mystery man or woman, whoever you might be. I mean, I know who they are, but shh. Anonymity. And they said, I've heard the rumour about the Dedenne-GX's crazy ability, but I don't have any reliable sources to confirm it 100%. Given that my source has heard it, and given that PokerBeach are reporting it, and generally speaking, myself and PokerBeach have had the same information at roughly the same time for the last couple of sets, and it's proven to be true every time. For instance, here's my mock-up of Nanu, here's actual Nanu. Here's my mock-up of Professor Elm's lecture. Here's actual Professor Elm's lecture. I could keep going, but you get the point here. There have been many rumours that I brought to you that have been true. This one, at this stage, ladies and gentlemen, take it as true. I'm 99% sure it is true. So we are going to be getting a Dedenne-GX, and the most exciting thing about it is the ability, which Drew has very lovingly put onto the image on the screen here. When you play this Pokemon from your hand onto your bench, you may discard your hand and draw 6 cards. It is basic Pokemon draw, ladies and gentlemen, the likes of which we do not have at the moment, and this is an incredibly important and exciting ability, which is going to be very, very, very useful as we move forward into this format. The first thing to mention, it's Shaman. No, it's not exactly Shaman. Shaman was draw until you've got 6 cards in your hand. This is discard your hand and draw 6. But to all intents and purposes, it's a basic 2-prize Pokemon with almost certainly very low HP. We'll get to that in a minute. With an ability that helps you set up. This gives decks a faster, better, more reliable start and will really, really help them to actually get going. It's also a discard, we'll get to that in a minute. So if we go back to Shaman, Shaman as a card and its setup ability was what made decks tick. Before Tapu Lele, this was the consistency engine for decks. It is over the top, great, and I can get rolling. And it's a basic Pokemon. So you can use this multiple times a turn. This isn't one of those, well, I use Tapu Lele, search for a Cynthia, play it, play my Cynthia, and that's it, see you next turn. This is a discard your hand, draw 6 cards. Discard your hand, draw 6 cards. Now, bearing in mind you're constantly discarding your hand and drawing 6, you can put 4 of these in your deck. You can play 4 of them during a turn. You start the game with 6 cards, you draw 1 for your turn, that's 7. Assuming you never play anything like an Oranguru to draw cards, assuming you never play anything like Acrobike to draw extra cards, assuming you don't play anything like Ultra Ball to search out a card from your deck, and you literally just draw cards, play some that you've drawn and move on, without ever drawing any other cards, you are drawing 4 lots of 6, 24, plus the 7 with which you started the game, 31, plus the 1 you drew at the beginning of your turn, 32. So if you just play for Dedenne, with no extra search or draw cards whatsoever, you are drawing 32 cards from your deck on the first turn of the game. That is redonk. And it means that if you're playing a speed deck, I mean, if you're trying to donk, if you're playing something like Pheromosa, for argument's sake, that is ridiculous. Because Pheromosa can do 30 damage on your first turn going first, and the chances of not getting it in the active with an energy, if you've got 4 Dedenne, I mean, it's essentially 0. Or a Buzzwole with a Diancie Prism Star and a Beast Energy to do 80 damage turn 1. You're going to get that. Now, to be fair, you could use Lysia for that, but it's still absolutely a possibility. And the thing is, Lysia won't help you set up. This will help you to set up. And it's just going to give crazy starts. Now, it's not all good. If you're playing a Stage 2 deck, you really want to have Rare Candy. And in order to use Dedenne, you really have to have neither Rare Candy nor the Stage 2 in your deck, because if you have one of them, then you discard it when you play Dedenne, and that's an issue. So it's not for every deck, but it will give ridiculous speed to some decks. But you also discard, and discarding can be very, very useful. So let's say you're playing a Zera Aura deck. It's got a really nice GX attack. And the GX attack says you get to search your deck for 5 basic energy and attach them to your Pokemon however you like. It's great for energy acceleration. The problem is discarding energy is more difficult at the moment than it's been for a while. We've still got Ultra Ball, we've still got Acrobike, and if you're playing some decks, that being Psychic or Dragon decks, then you've got access to Mysterious Treasure. But we don't have Professor Sycamore anymore. Professor Sycamore was our go-to discard and draw option. We don't have that anymore. It's been rotated out, ladies and gentlemen. He gone. So that means that we need a new option to draw, and Dedenne is absolutely it. In some decks where you want to discard cards, it's kind of over-the-top ridiculous. And it's something we mention every time we end up discarding, but Vespiquen? Vespiquen in Expanded does 10 damage for each Pokemon in your discard pile. Well, this helps you draw cards while discarding Pokemon. It's awesome. Or if you want to go a bit more recent, how about the upcoming Zoroark, which is coming in Dark Order? And this does 20 damage for each Pokemon in your discard pile, up to a maximum 10. For a Darkness Double Colorless. Clearly, Dedenne is going to be great for that. And if you don't need Dedenne to discard Pokemon and draw cards, we'll just discard it and it'll do an extra 20 damage. It's crazy good for this. And the thing is, it is fast. Because we're going to have Zebstrika by the time this comes out. Zebstrika's got an amazing ability. Once during your turn, you may discard your hand and draw 4 cards. Firstly, drawing 6 is way better than drawing 4. It's the difference between in Shuffle Draw a Cynthia and a Judge. And I don't think anyone out there is arguing that Judge is particularly close to Cynthia as a draw card. And it's the difference between doing it turn 1 and doing it turn 2. And let's not forget, you can use a Super Scoop Up to pick up Dedenne and use it again. Or you can use an Ace Roller if it's damaged and pick it up and use it again. And it's not like Tapu Lele where you can pick it up and search out a supporter because, oh no, wait, you've already used a supporter by using Ace Roller. No. Dedenne, you can just keep going. The speed and consistency this will give fast decks is crazy. It's not for everything. Stage 2 decks won't use it. But other than that, it is ridiculous. Now, there are some downsides. Firstly, it's an ability on a basic Pokemon, so your opponent using Alolan Muck will turn it off. Having said that, you do have to remember that your opponent needs a turn to evolve up Alolan Muck, whereas you can use Dedenne on turn 1. It is going to have low HP. When I was talking to Drew about making this card, I asked him to knock it up with 110 HP. Because that's what Shaman had, and I think that's what he's going to have. And he's going to have a weakness to fighting. So something like a Buzzwole with a Beast Energy, we're going to one-hit KO for 2 prizes. And it is worth using your Beast Energy to take 2 prizes. With a Diancie Prism Star, it'll only do 100, but still, it's very, very bad. And it's going to be a GX, so Shrine of Punishment is going to take advantage of it and KO it way more quickly than others. At the moment, the GX with the lowest HP is Marshadow with 150. I think this will beat it, but not in a good way, by a fair amount. I don't think this is going to have high HP at all. I think it's going to be very brittle, just like Shaman was back in the day. And of course, it's going to take your bench spots, so if you play 3 or 4 of these, you are going to be struggling for bench space. Although, and I don't think it's actually viable, but there is the Hydreigon that discards some Pokemon from your bench, so you could play them and then discard them with Hydreigon. I don't think that's actually a viable option, but it's kind of fun. The last thing to remember, and I think a lot of people have forgotten this, I'm not seeing it mentioned many places. Shaymin dropped off use before it was rotated, and the reason was Tapu Lele. In that brief period between Tapu Lele being released and Shaymin being rotated, a lot of people just started using Tapu Lele rather than Shaymin. So I don't know if Dedenne is going to be an every deck kind of card. Maybe it's just for speed decks, maybe a lot of decks will still use Tapu Lele, and actually, there's a whole bunch of decks out there who have gone to Makago and Oranguru rather than using Tapu Lele because of stuff like Shrine of Punishment. But maybe then using Dedenne will give you a significant speed advantage over these Makago Oranguru decks, so Dedenne will be great. We don't know is the honest answer. It's clearly a great ability, that I don't think is in question. It's clearly going to see a lot of play, I don't think that's in question. Whether it will see the heights of previous Shaymin, whether it will just be for speed decks, or whether it will be the counter to this slightly slower Makago Oranguru stuff people have started using, that's the question, and no one has an answer to this right now. But either way, this is super exciting, and I want to hear from you guys. What do you think about this Dedenne-GX? I'm fairly sure it's real. I'm fairly sure it's happening. I don't know about the GX attack. I don't know about the attack, but I do know the ability is nuts, but it's going to be brittle, and it's not perfect, as I've laid out. Go nuts, ladies and gentlemen, but do please remember to be nice. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all of that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do just that. And do please make sure you check out youtube.com/WassyPlays. We are getting deep into the Transformers TCG at the moment. That's a lot of fun. I would recommend it. But by far the most important thing, as always, is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.